Hello, everybody. It has been a while. I did not do these interviews. 2026, bring me back. You have your host, Dr. Osako Marie Jemo. I am very happy to bring forth a wonderful person. Today, I'm honored to introduce a visionary leader whose work is making a meaningful impact across communities. Our guest is the president of Kayonza Global Network, an organization committed to building sustainable solutions and empowering people on a global scale. Through strong leadership, strategic partnership, and a clear mission, Kayonza Global Network continues to transform lives and create lasting change. Please join me in welcoming the president of Kayonza Global Network, Mr. Peter Kalven.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for joining us today. And please, without taking too much time, go ahead and introduce yourself. People want to know who is this awesome guy. Please
Oh,
introduce yourself.
well, thank you. And certainly you justified my going and getting a haircut and cleaned up for this because that was a pretty gracious introduction, I have to say. Thank you. For those who are interested, I am a founder and CEO or president of the Kayonza Global Network. We are a entity that started out as three individuals globally situated. Myself in Canada. I'm an American living in Canada and have been living in Canada for close to 50 years now. A gentleman who is part of our board of directors who's in Uganda, in Kayonza, Uganda, hence the name, and a lawyer who is a good friend of mine in Serbia. And our relationships started I, practically almost 2 decades ago now on social media. So at that time it was Facebook, and we were doing. I was actually gaming with the lawyer, and we were doing Facebook games, and we found over the course of time that we had similar um, values, particularly with Serbia at the time. He was experiencing the NATO bombings and those kinds of things. And so we had quite a bit that we talked about outside of that. And that friendship eventually evolved into our wanting to help my other contact in Uganda.
Thank you, Kayonza Global Network, for the water us. Now we have safe drinking water, keeping us safe every day and night. May God bless you, Shalom.
Who operates an entity called the Kayonza Eco Farm Initiative, and has very successfully for over a decade been training farmers in various ways. So for a number of years prior to where we are today, we explored, setting up a charity in Canada, setting up a charity in Cyprus, setting up a charity in Uganda, setting up a charity in Serbia. And eventually, through my social media interactions, one of my followers from social media said, I'll tell you what, I'll sponsor your application to set up a charity in the United States. That has started a whole series of events that began last year, this time last year, and has now resulted in us being positioned through the generosity of several individuals, but one individual in particular, I want to say thank you, um, to having an operating budget for an entire year. We have grown from three people to I put out invites to over 100 people to come to I do a global meeting every Saturday, and we do a series of managerial meetings during the week.
Wow.
And we have been steadily growing, and I would say our Saturday meetings now are 20 to 30 people. And
Okay.
I am very impressed by the generosity of people about their time. I'm very impressed and grateful for the very kind comments that you've shared about who I am and what I'm doing. Um, we are, I think it's important for people to understand we are trying to create a high impact with a low touch we're non-political, and we are non-religious. That doesn't mean we won't work with faith groups, because faith groups are at the front line of a lot of charity work, particularly in the parts of the world where we're looking to operate. But our key function is basically, the premise is we want to learn, share, and teach sustainable agriculture to people who farm by hand. We don't want to
Okay.
change that tradition. We want to learn that tradition. And I'm
Mm.
going from my expert knowledge of farming, because I grew up in Chicago, and whenever it rained, I knew what a cow smelled like.
Oh,
So
you're also from Chicago?
I'm also
Wow.
from Chicago. Yes.
Very, very interesting.
I,
Now you're living in Canada. What you're
yeah.
saying, it's very, very powerful, Peter, to know that this work that you're doing, helping people, changing lives, it's very powerful, especially that
Thank you.
you're not doing it yourself, but you're bringing other people to work together. That is very powerful. And I understand that at the beginning, you were saying that you met this gentleman from Uganda and you guys were just playing video games. And by playing video games, you were exchanging some information, and it went from there to what you're doing today. So what I want to understand, if you can share just briefly the vision behind the Kayonza Global Network and what inspired you in creating this organization.
Well, I think the video gaming was between the lawyer and I. My friendship with Peter in Uganda was, I was touched by what he was doing, and
Okay.
over a period of time, he and I have become very good friends. I've tried to support what he was doing, and the GoFundMe fundraising type of thing, using my social media platform, because I went from a few hundred followers to, when I shifted to TikTok from Facebook. I think on Facebook I now have a couple of thousand followers. On TikTok, before the sale and all that's taking place now, I have about 15,000, 14, 15,000 followers. And so I felt that was a sufficient number of people that you could probably do some fundraising. And I was trying to help Peter with financing websites or specific projects. In any event, Peter and I have been friends for now close to a decade. He's done me the great personal honor of naming a child after me, which I'm very touched by, quite honestly. And anyway, going to the vision, I've
Mhm.
always had a volunteer service personality, um, but I've also had a very strong global injustice perspective. And I'm not a knight in shining armor. I'm not going to solve or change anybody's circumstances. I'm not going to charge in and fix everything, because it's not my personality to do so. But I do believe we can create fundamental change. About 54% of the world's population are what are called subsistence farmers. And originally the concept was, well, okay, I'm going to work with, learn, share, and teach sustainable agriculture with subsistence farmers. And somebody made the brilliant suggestion. It was one of the people I was interacting with, just like you, Marie.
Mhm.
And this is partly how we work. We're a team. Somebody said, well, you know, rather than calling them subsistence farmers, refer to them as people who farm by hand, because that gets across very clearly what we're dealing with. And in fact, of that 54%, the greater percentage still farm by hand. So that made sense to me. And the original, what we're dealing with. And okay, the original motivation was that 54% only generates 39% of the global food. So they're not even generating sufficient food for their own particular needs. And my concern of creating this entity as a 501c or C3 charity is we're not going to fix famine. We're not going to fix refugees from violence and war and great tragedies, natural tragedies. That's
Mhm.
what all the very large, very well equipped entities exist for. But we
Mhm.
can be drops of water in communities and affect
Absolutely.
change. And my goal is, if we can move that 39% incrementally, and again, we're talking about what, 8 billion people. So 54% of 8 billion people is more than 4 billion people. If we can move that 39% to 39 point something in our efforts over the term of the existence of this entity, we're a success.
Wow.
Quite simply, my objectives are scalable. My targets are scalable. Everything we're trying to do is oddly and terribly expensive. So we do need that. We do need the largesse of compassion and humanity, but
Mm.
we're positioning ourselves, I believe, so that the vast, well, currently all of the money goes to the beneficiary. Um, uh,
Okay.
and I think our distinction from other charitable organizations is we exist only in the ether. People are doing this from their studies or their living rooms or their kitchens. We don't have
Mm.
an office building. We don't have any trucks. We don't have any equipment. Um, you know, at some point in time, somebody may ask me to buy equipment, but I'm looking at the people we're working with. They're predominantly women, not to preclude gender here, but predominantly the farmers in the world are women, and
Mm-hmm.
they are supporting their families. So my primary goal is to provide them with food security and sustainability. And the sustainability is an exchange of ideas. They have centuries of tradition that they know.
Mm-hmm.
I need
Mm-hmm.
to learn that. We're not coming in to colonize them. We're not coming in to save them. I need to
Mm-hmm.
know in each community, and it's a case of consultation and conversation, what they know about what they're growing and whether they're making choices that are nutritionally, economically sound. So assisting in that respect, because
Wow.
many of the
That
parts of
is
the world,
very powerful. That is
yeah,
very powerful. I'm taking a little bit the word from you because what you want to share, it's the question I want to ask. Because,
okay,
the way you're coming in to help people, not saying we're coming to colonize you, but we're coming to work with you. That is very powerful. And I like the fact that you are acknowledging that you're not coming to change everybody's problem. You're not
no,
coming to change, you're coming to give a hand.
no,
You're giving a hand to say, hey, I know you can go 2 miles. I'm adding 1 mile on what you're doing. And that is very powerful. So I want us to I have a few questions for you. So I
please go
want to
ahead.
see how we can
You know me,
address that.
you know
So
me, I have the gift of the gab. So you can take the host's priority and shut me up anytime you want.
all right, Peter. So my question is now, what core mission drives the work you do? And how does that translate into real impact on the ground?
That's actually a very good question, and I was about to head into that as you
Yeah.
were observing my
Mm-hmm.
conversation. So you
Mm-hmm.
you are you are on track. I'm going to break it into a couple of parts. Our functional operational mission is food security, infrastructure, and water management. That those are the plateaus, or as I would refer to them, footings that we are working in. And I am doing that, and we are doing that, to be more precisely. If I say I mean we. It's just the nature of conversation. We are doing that with the intent that other organizations that are equipped to do other things can use the footings we're putting in place in the locations we are to integrate themselves and interact with those communities. But so the first is food security and sustainability, and that's primarily looking to the farms and the parents and providing them with technology that's available to us in the world writ large through agricultural specialists and whatever, with the best practices added to their traditions. So it's a communications effort. That also includes the ability in the future, if we do increase crop yields and we do manage pest control and we do manage rejuvenation of the soil, that we look at how do we store the crop, because they're very successful at producing crops, but one of the problems is spoilage. So going and dealing with the necessary circumstances around soilage or spoilage, sorry. And the nature of um, farming by hand is it is by its very nature organic. We're not tree huggers and insisting on organic for some health benefit reason. We are looking at organic in that it reduces chemical input into the soil, which in most of the places we're working is incredibly degraded. So we are looking at regenerating that soil and doing it organically with detritus and earthworms and all of the things that are related to that. Once we move into the infrastructure, we are using schools, churches, and orphanages, structures that have assembly area because it's a footing, and we're providing solar power and eventually internet connectivity and the means for that community-based assembly area to interact with the rest of the world, and more importantly, for the world to interact with that community, and for our purposes functionally as well. And again, non-religious, non-political, but faith groups and whatever are going to come on top of it. We're dealing with, a group that's dealing with maternal and infant mortality. We're dealing with another group that is concerned about orphaned seniors, not orphaned children, but the actual orphaned seniors in the aftermath of violence and COVID and all of the terrible things that have happened. And then with respect to water, we've been, I would say, blessed by having a relationship and a connection with an entity that allows us to acquire gravity fed filtration systems that have a lifetime filter, so there's no replacement parts needed, that provide potable water, 150 gallons gravity fed in 24 hours, which is sufficient potable water for 300 people each day, as one means. And then we're looking at manufacturing a means of transportation that also filters. And then as we grow, uh, we have the ability to do reservoir scale projects or drilled well projects in concert most likely with the regional or national governments. But the core theme of this is let's nurture the parents' knowledge base, allow them to feed their families so that their children can go to school. We will create an environment in the school where the children have an access to the greater world. And ideally, over the course of a generation, we will have parents who are self-sustaining. We will have children who are entering the workforce on a level playing field. So the core effort here is actually that next generation. We're focusing on the current generation, but it really is to assist that next generation of children who are currently today 5 years
Wow.
old.
Wow,
Uh,
that is very powerful, Peter. That is
well,
very powerful to be able to nurture the current generation
to
for
to
them
bring the
to bring,
exact
yes, the next generation. What you're doing is very, very powerful because it's easy for you to come and give me a fish and say, hey, you hungry? Here's the bread, go and eat. But teaching me how to bake so that with generation to come I can be able to sustain my family, that is powerful, and that explains why you are not coming to hand down the
no, it's a
food,
handout.
but
It's a
to
handout.
end up, because you are teaching people how can you be sustainable with your family and be able to build the next generation. That is very powerful. And if you can tell us just briefly, or how long have you been around, and is there like a one story that stood up?
Few weeks. I've been here for a few weeks.
Yeah, for this assignment, for this project, you've been working on this project for
Close to a
how long?
decade. Close to a
For
decade. It's been
Yes.
formulating certainly
Yeah.
intently this last year, more
Mhm.
I would call it full time, but I'm retired, and I'm retired from the entertainment industry where I was a technician in the entertainment industry, and I am retired from an interest in the I am retired from an interest in working as a licensed real estate associate, and I did commercial real estate. So I have a kind of weird combination of talents. The entertainment industry has taught me to think backwards, in that
Mhm.
if I have to open or film on X date, what do I need today to do that? Which is part of the
Mhm.
planning process of exactly what we're discussing as we pro project brainstorm. And then the real estate expertise I developed was being able to evaluate a building, uh, mostly income performing buildings, on the basis of their income, and you're saying, okay, is this an honest statement of activity? And we're talking, at one point I was grading a $1.4 billion portfolio, uh, which, I mean, it never transpired into a transaction for me, but it was experience. And the ability to be able to come to a genuine value. And so what happens is I have this really odd understanding of money, combined with this backwards planning. And uh, as it serves in my flypaper position of being the band majorette, leading this particular effort, because I can attract the talent that we need, and at the same time inspire the talent we have, and it's a great honor to do so. But the real reward of all of this is when we've accomplished a task, whatever that task may be. It could be anything from providing a family with some chickens to providing an orphanage with some food for the children, to rebuilding the kitchen in an orphanage, which we've recently done, or putting solar power onto a school where they've never had electric light at night. Um, and we in the West are so caught up on how to be happy and what makes us happy and what things make us happy. And we have forgotten that happiness, genuine joy, is surprisingly simple. And when you witness genuine joy, like if watching kittens or uh, baby bears or whatever play, there's happiness and it exudes happiness. And when you see people who are genuinely grateful for whatever it is, that is by far and away, and certainly if people are considering assisting us in any way, justifies your effort, justifies your dollars, is this reward of genuine human joy that is
Wow.
shared with you. And trust
Yes.
me, that is more valuable than anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's, I can even take a pause and say the interview is finished. Because the joy when you're working with somebody or you're coming to help somebody and that brings you joy, that means you've succeeded in your mission. Because if you feel like, okay, it becomes a burden, it becomes a duty, then you fail in your mission. So from that point there, what is this one still, because I know you are doing a lot with the organization. I'm part of the group, so I know what Kayonza is doing. What
Yeah, in full
the life
disclosure,
is
we
thing.
should probably tell them that, but let's leave it because this has been a
Yes.
good interview.
So yeah. So what I want to know is, what is one story or outcome that best reflect the difference Kayonza Global Network is making currently? That's one story. If we have somebody listening right now and they say, "Oh, I really want to reach out. Maybe I have $10 I want to invest in this organization. Maybe I have $1,000 that I want to invest in this organization." What is one story that has really impacted you in what's happened and what Kayonza is doing that you can reflect right now to share with the public?
Okay. Well, first, I would like to say thank you to anybody who is inspired to do a donation or participate. First of all, you are more than welcome, and thank you very much for that. I would encourage anybody who's interested to explore and find out more about us, and then make your determination as to whether or not you can want to come and play in our playground. Uh, in terms of a story that I think reflects the guiding principles of this organization and how we operate as a team. As you know, Marie, we have a number of areas that we are committed to making a difference or making an impact. Kayonza, Masaka, Jinja, Mabali, a location in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we are constantly juggling who gets what when. And as it happened, we have Clarence Sims, who is our chief operating officer, and it's our good fortune that he has business activity in Uganda as it happens from his primary business. So he travels a number of times a year to Uganda. So we have a person who is able to go on the ground, do site assessment, do conversations with the local co-ops and communities, and do a determination of priorities. And in the course of doing that, although we were planning to do a whole series of other things, it became apparent to us that at the orphanage in Jinja, for the past 20 odd years, the 70 children that are cared for by this particular orphanage, which is a husband and wife team and their family predominantly, and it's a fenced and protected area, so these children are secure. Um, were cooking their food and preparing their food on the floor of a little tin shed with no ventilation. So you had the smoke, you had the sanitary concerns of the condition of the floor for preparing food, and so on and so forth. And the decision was made, we're going to upgrade their kitchen. And we had a whole elaborate Western white hat decision making, this is how we're going to do it plan. And Clarence got on the ground, talked to the local community, talked to the local contractors. We have built a kitchen and did so in less than a week, which is quite amazing. In the end, rather than bringing in aluminum pergolas and fancy equipment that, would be kind of like here, let us fix it solution, we adapted, and I think successfully, and learned from the adaptation. We've used readily available what are called farm bricks, locally produced bricks that are not expensive. We've constructed a very sound structure that has the appropriate ventilation and the rest. We've raised the fire up into two raised fire pits that at one point in time in the future we will upgrade with other equipment, ideally solar powered and so on. But again, that'll be determined at the time. But the key thing that we've done, I believe, is we created a counter, just a ceramic counter that can easily be sterilized and kept clean for food prep. So the women that are and the children that are being tasked with cooking are no longer having to work on the floor. They're no longer they can stand, right? And to some extent, standing is pride without getting too philosophical about that. And they can prepare food safely. They have the means to cook it, and it ventilates, and it's still protected from the weather. Um, and I'm really quite impressed with the job that Clarence and the team did. And instead, now one of the results of that is I have this grand plan, as you know, of providing chickens and chicken coops and whatever to a variety of farms, starting in one community and eventually across the country. And rather than building chicken coops out of expensive materials like eucalyptus that are not locally available they're locally available to the country, but not to the community and the shipping, all the different costs and expenses, we're going to build chicken coops out of farm bricks. And so
Wow, fantastic.
the next project is going to be, okay, guys, let's design some chicken coops out of farm bricks
Mm.
and see which one we want to use. And then that will be the prototype for if we do chicken program in the 5 communities, some, what is that, 2,000 chicken coops at the end of the day or something along those lines. So
Somewhere today,
somewhere in there, yeah. And we're
somewhere
talking
in there.
and we're talking several 100,000 chickens at the end of the day that will benefit from perhaps a better house than the owner of the farm.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Yes,
It's very
we
impressive.
thank, yeah, so we thank Clarence.
Oh yeah,
Clarence, if you're
absolutely.
listening to
Clarence has got his angel's wings on. He doesn't recognize it, but every time I look at him, I see angel wings.
this.
And
Yes,
this is
yes,
coming from me,
yes.
you know, my particular theological perspective. So for me to give somebody
Yeah.
credit for angel wings,
Absolutely. So, yes, we say thank you to Clarence who's going on the field. Thank you to everybody at Kayonza who's working hard,
there,
supporting Peter.
there,
And thank you to all the donor and everybody participating to make the
yes, sir.
project successful. Because I know the kitchen is just one of the projects that has been done, even though I know you've been planning this for over 10 years and it has been around for a year. And in a year, a lot of things have been done. I've
Yep,
seen myself videos where uh, orphanage, they did not have clean water and now they have clean water. I
yes,
saw schools that did not have electricity, they did not have internet. So now they have electricity, now they have internet. So that is very powerful, just making a difference in somebody's life. It may not be like a big difference at once, but just those small differences in there, it's making a big impact. You may not see it because you only look into, oh, they did not have electricity, now they have it. But you don't know the extent to which it's going. That is very,
that's
very
true.
powerful. So now that we're going down to closing this interview, Peter, in your skin of a president of the organization, what leadership principles that are guiding your decisions, especially when you found yourself in a challenging moment, right? When you found yourself in a challenging moment, is there anything you can share with us? That way, if we have young presidents or young CEOs that can
People
learn
aspire.
from you how you deal with challenging moments in your organization.
I think there's a couple of things I'd like to say in response to that, and that's a very good question. So thank you, Marie. First, I wanted in your comments that you were saying, you know, I think it's important. I think it's important for people to remember that a beach is made up of grains of sand, and so we are in effect the grains of sand,
Mm-hmm.
and we can change the nature of a beach by changing the nature of those specific grains of sand. So, as a leadership perspective, it's getting past the hubris that we're going to fix it or solve it or change it and understanding that everything we're doing is incremental. But we do it as a team. And probably my primary function as other than do the song and dance man routine that I do in the Smiling Joker, is the idea of reinforcing on a regular basis between the many personalities that we're a team and that we are all rowing our projects in the same direction, that everyone's opinion matters, but decisions are made as a team. Decisions are made sometimes that are not the decision that an individual may choose, but and I'm not saying you have to be a team player in the pedantic paradigm that business talks about. It's a team player in that we are humanity and we're helping humanity. And humility is a part of humanity. And we are indeed doing wonderful things, and there will be a point in time that each of us can rest on whatever our laurels happen to be. But the key of it is that we get to experience such tremendous joy from our successes. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I want to impress on your listeners, the goal here is not to stand out because of this or that. The goal is we're trying to be a different form of assistance that allows you as a participant in that assistance to feel part of that assistance, to see the direct result of your assistance, and to enjoy the benefits of the response to your assistance, in that it's a brother's keeper experience.
Mm-hmm.
And not because it's ordained or whatever. You can make those choices if you choose. But
Mm-hmm.
as a participant in society, and I have firmly believed since childhood that every society needs to look after its underbelly for a variety of political and social reasons. But ultimately, none of us live beyond the circumstances that these poor people are subjected to. They just happen to be born in this country with these conditions and this politic and so on and so forth. They
Mm-hmm.
could be Einstein or they could be whatever, but this is where they are, and listening and helping people where they are. I
Wonderful. That is very powerful. Listening and helping people where they are and staying humble. That is very powerful.
and
All right, Peter.
that's
So now, mhm,
and that's very hard to stay humble, to be honest. It's
yes,
very, very hard. So
especially if you are now doing great things.
it's a conscious choice. It's absolutely a
Mhm,
conscious choice. And
mhm,
again, I know you want to close this off, but I do want to invite your listeners to investigate. Come investigate us. Find us. We have the website.
mhm,
We have other material. Marie is going to promote this and so on. And I first of all, thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you, Marie, for the time to ask and inviting me to do this. I know that we work together, but this is important.
mhm,
Um, and you know, the door is always open to
mhm.
opinions and to ideas and to assistance. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now you just went ahead of me right there.
I do that. I'm sorry. You know me. You know me well enough to
So
know that I
I
do that.
wanted, I wanted to say before I give you my last question, I wanted just to kind of have a short, like a 1, 2 minutes. What would you say will be the vision for the future growth and global reach of Kayonza Global Network? Just in 1 or 2 minutes. What do you
Okay.
see? Where do you see Kayonza? Let's say 5 years, 10 years from now.
I get that question quite often in the when you get into those branding seminars that and so on that we have been exposed to. Um,
Mm-hmm,
I believe if we are capable of managing our operational cost, which
mm-hmm,
we've been blessed with for a year and are able to replenish in the course of the coming year, and in future years, and adjust accordingly. I believe we will experience a natural and ideally exponential growth. I believe that we will go from projects. For example, we're currently doing projects that, each individual step may cost anywhere from 2,500 to six or $10,000, to projects along the scale of the poultry project that I mentioned, where doing those projects is $1,000 a farm. So when you start talking 300 farms, you're talking $300,000. And so our ability to raise funds and for people to be inspired enough to provide the funds, both from the public donors that can afford to give us 5 or 10 or $50, whatever it is. Thank you very much. To
mm-hmm,
our stepping up through the levels of fundraising to the level of people that are positioned to grant endowments. So I think part of our core message is what allows us, the core message we discussed earlier,
mm-hmm,
allows us to hopefully open that level to endowments. And I envision that, this coming year, when all is said and done, We may hit the $1 or $2 million mark in fundraising. I hope to see that. In future years, I would think we would be fairly healthy if we were seeing between 5 and 10 million. But I would not be surprised in the lifetime of the corporate entity that we've created that we are talking in the hundreds of millions, quite frankly.
All
But
right.
that is something I may or may not live to see, but part of what we are doing is creating the framework of a methodology that will compete, not compete in that we're going to take dollars away from other charitable
Mhm.
organizations, but compete for recognition in terms of doing basically good work.
Okay, wow, that's a big vision right there. And we pray for you, Peter. You're going to
Thank
live
you.
longer so that you can see the fruit of what you're planting right now.
Well,
And
I see the fruit today. So, but
yes,
I do appreciate the
uh,
wish for long and good health. So, thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. I know we have some people online. Hello, hello, Miss Mimi. Hello, Miss Annie. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know there are a couple of people. So now for people who are listening right now, people who are watching this interview, and people who will watch later as well, how can individuals, organizations, or partners get involved and support this mission? Because we believe that you are working to make sure that not you, but other people and other generation get sustained in what they're doing, and primarily when it comes to food, going to school, those primary needs in human
Mhm.
nature. So
Mhm.
if somebody want to get involved with you, how can they get involved in this mission?
I would say currently that the best avenue would be the website. And we have two URLs that basically lead to the same place. The one is relatively simple. It is Kayonza, KAYONZA.org. That will at least it gives you a full menu of what we are doing, what we want to do, and various things, and it has the appropriate contact information. Bearing in mind that we are currently going through a reorganization, and what is the website today will not necessarily be the website tomorrow, but that it's still an active link to connecting with us. And the other website with the same connection is Kayonza Global Network.org. So one's just an abbreviation of the other, and obviously one's a mouthful and the other's simple. So that's the logic behind that. And for those people that are considering, the door is open. You're more than welcome. If by chance you cannot connect that way, you can find me personally on LinkedIn. I will point out my last name is Kalven. We also have Kayonza on Facebook as a channel on LinkedIn, and a few other social media platforms. So that is also an avenue to connect because we have people monitoring those, and we certainly will respond back if someone reaches out. And everyone's welcome. Quite frankly, everyone is welcome. Whatever your contribution is, if it's just interest in finding out what we're doing, if you have connections with people that you believe would be beneficial for us, by all means, please. That's half of what we are doing. A good portion of my day is having conversations with other entities to see how we can work together. Um, if you are financially sound enough to be able to contribute to what we're doing, bless you and thank you. And we are more than happy to have discussions with you if you have specific concerns you would like us to address. Uh, Again, I promote that we are focused on food security. So and I'm not poo-pooing this, but there are other entities that provide quite effectively, food, clothing, and furniture and healthcare. We are
Mhm.
supportive of those efforts indeed, but our primary function is food and
Mhm.
water. Those are our primary focus
Okay.
because we don't want to get caught in mission creep. quite frankly.
Okay.
But
All right.
and I reiterate, the door is always open. If we do this again, Marie, at some point, if the opportunity exists for a Q&A with your audience, I'd be happy to do that. That would be a very interesting exercise for both of us, I believe,
Okay.
and those kinds of things. So again, I want to thank you for the time and the interview, and I want to thank those people who are sitting through it for taking the time to listen to what we have to say.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to organize something again very soon. That's where we can have a Q&A. We can have people asking questions. I don't know if there is any question right now. Looks like right now there's no question. People want to learn more because this is the first time you're coming in my channel. And
true.
people want to discover who is Peter Kalven, the president of Kayonza Global Network. So we want to learn more. We're going to put the details in the description. This video will be shared across YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you can find it. If you need more information, you can reach out to me or you can reach out to the details that we're going to be putting in the description. Is there any last word that you can share with our audience, Peter?
I think thank you is the only, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your interest. I hope you enjoy the exploration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's my joy to work with you and bring you on this channel. It's always a joy to talk with you, Peter. The difference you're making in people's life means a lot to a lot of people. Maybe you don't see it. You see just few pictures that they send to you saying, this is what we've done. This is a thank you card that comes. But as we said earlier, the impact is going to go from generation to generation.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. Being able to change the lifestyle from somebody who was cooking on the ground, now they have a kitchen with gas. Somebody who was studying in the dark, now they have lights. Somebody who did not even know how to go on the internet, now they can do it. Those are small changes, but the impact of that is very, very powerful. So I want to thank you and then thank Kayonza in general, everybody at Kayonza working. We acknowledge your effort. We acknowledge what you're doing. It's very, very powerful. Everybody is very important, from the donor to the administrator, everybody, the board of directors, everybody. So we thank you, Peter, and through you, we thank Kayonza for everything that
I will extend that back. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, so that will be the last minute we're gonna spend on the interview. I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated live, and thank you to everybody who will watch after. If you have a question or you want to know more about the organization, please reach out. I believe we have a Saturday meeting. It's an hour and 30-minute meeting. Roughly. That we meet on a Saturday. Yep. Where you can come and learn more about about the activities and everything that is being done and the impact that Kayonza is having across the globe. All right. Thank you so much again, Peter, for taking your time to come and talk with us. You have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you, Marie. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.